Hey everyone, this is Donna Savage with Talk with Savage Desires. Tonight we are presenting phenomenal Marlene Herb. Marlene, your phone is on silent. Take off the silent. We're having Marlene tonight from Marlene Herbs, where we will be discussing women's health. Hopefully, we can talk about some men's health as well. Welcome, Miss Marlene.
Hey, thank you
How,
for having me, Donna.
you are so welcome, beautiful. It's always a pleasure having you here and always talking to you because I can pick your brain when it comes to so many things. But before we get into picking your brain, because we have an hour, I want to mention that this episode was brought to you by the Nor Lotus, where everything crystal is being sold from bracelets to waist beads to anklet. It's also brought to you by Savage Desires. So, Marlene, baby girl, thank you for joining me.
Yeah,
Oh my God, you know I love you so much. So,
me too, baby.
Marlene is a renowned herbalist and homeopathic practitioner. And one of the reasons why I always have her right beside me because we're walking hands in hand. I told her she'll never leave me. She's not going anywhere without me because she is a mountain and a pillar of information when it comes to women's health and men as well. One of the reasons why we decided to talk about this today is I was talking to her earlier in the week and she said, Donna, I am sick and tired of having all these women coming to me with unhealthy vagina. It is what it is. So, Marlene, let's talk about these unhealthy vaginas and unhealthy bodies and all those stuff. And as I told you, we're going to be raw and authentic because people need to understand is this is not no play around stuff. If they want to live to a nice ripe old age, we have to take off this vessel right here. Right? And Marlene, stop going like a shy because we know you're not shy. All right. So
No, I can't just attack. I
I
can't just
don't,
attack them
you know,
like that.
come, bring yourself in front of the camera. Come. So, babe, Marlene,
uh,
talk to me. I don't know. I could ask you a barrage of questions. So, you know what? Tell me who Marlene Herb is and why you decided to become a herbalist slash homeopathic practitioner to make them realize that, that I'm not playing with no plan nobody. So, let's talk about who Miss Marlene is.
well, I actually went and did herbalism and homeopathy only because I didn't want to give my first child vaccines because it was being forced on and I wasn't against it or for it. But I was just, because you're telling me I'm not going to do it because it doesn't make any sense. So, and then I didn't do it because I got busy with life. And then they called me up and threatened me. And when she was about a year old, and then
So, you decided to take matters in your own hand.
I went down and just get myself acquainted with why I shouldn't give it to her. So then with that, I could write my letter of conscience and do
Mhm,
everything. None of my kids have been vaccinated. They're adults now, but nothing
mhm.
has been pricked into their bodies.
Okay, Marlene, I'm gonna dive right in, right? So, should women and men pay attention to signs in their bodies?
Well, there's always signs. I mean, once you start the douching issue to smell good, and once the finger and the 10-second ear test doesn't smell good, there's an infection. Doesn't matter if they said it's vaginitis, it's this, it's bacterial vagin, all the nice words to say. Just do not say you have chlamydia and gonorrhea and trichinosis and all of the other ones that come with having sex. Because virgins don't have stinking vagina.
So, what you're saying, you mentioned douching, so people are not supposed to douche, is what you're saying.
No, because the vagina have a multitude of healthy bacteria that keep all that balance going. It
So,
does. And it resets itself even after a new partner comes in your space. It resets itself. You don't need to run to the doctor because it wouldn't last more than a day or two if it wasn't an STD.
mm, so you're saying that all these fancy word that these doctors are telling you, chlamydia, vaginitis, is it's just a it's an STI or STD. Is
It's
what
a
you're saying.
STD. They just change it now to STI because it sounds nicer. Because STD have been bastardized so long, that it's oh we have an STI. It's still STD. Doesn't matter if it's an STI.
So what sometimes when you go to the doctors and them give you all these little pills. So what is it? Is it just covering it or is it going to the
Well, what it does is that when you go to the doctor when you have an STI or STD or bacterial vaginitis, like what they like to call it, when you go and you get that, it's an antibiotic, so it goes against all bacteria, really. So
Okay.
it will lower the level of the infections, and the infection will move further up into the hip beyond the cervix because it wants to live. And bacteria really is a very destructive thing. It's not like a virus that sits around and want to become a part of you and become actually sometimes very healthy for you. But like bacteria aren't healthy. Different, it acts in the body much different than a virus.
So how would one get rid of it permanently? So you're saying that when you take antibiotics, it's basically dormant, but eventually it's going to come up again, right? Is what you're saying.
All the time, and they start getting heavy periods, sharp pains in the abdomen. They start to um, their partners doesn't really want to have sex with them, so they become very miserable because people don't want to have sex with people that smell bad after the act or smell bad during the act.
But then it's going
Yeah.
back and forth because if she's not clearing herself up or he gave it to her, so it's going to go back and forth, right?
Well, the bottom line is that if you are going to be sexually active, you have to be prepared to have the conversation about getting tested before you start having sex with a partner. And
Hmm.
let everybody take responsibility for their sexual health. Now it's like it was when I much younger. It was like 7 days. Now it's like 2 days, and you can get all your results, most of your results back from syphilis to most of the stuff. You could, most of the viral infections, which is about 150 of them out there, you can get most of the results back.
So
And and people and people actually knows when they're clean, both men and women. And if both partners take responsibility for their health, 90% of the time nobody cheats. Because I mean, more cheating is impulsive. And they remember that they got a clean bill of health 2 years ago and they ain't gonna fuck it up because if the man has STD, he's setting himself up for prostate cancer and all of the other things later on and stuff like, arthritis and
so you,
tetanus victis and all kind of stuff start happening so it goes throughout the body and the woman also end up losing her uterus lightnings and her cervical cancer and so everybody take responsibility for that and fibroids and heavy bleeding all of those stuff
so
if they
you're
take
saying STI
responsibility for
could, so STI can cause all of that things that you just
it's
mentioned.
the only thing that causes it and I'm not even making I'm sick and tired of everybody acting they don't know how they get fibroids.
So it's sexually trans STI or
It's
STD.
always that.
It's always that something that's
It's
dormant. That's
called
all.
fifth use Curtis because these doctors discovered in the 50s that it always come back to an infection and we should stop it and go clean ourselves up. You have to go beyond the doctors to a homeopath, a herbalist, and or a naturopath if they're willing now to treat that heavily. But you treat them and it should be out of their system and they will see good period. They won't have fibroids. They will smell good. They won't
No
have to be
pain.
steaming their vagina. They won't have to be douching their vagina, and they could
Yes.
go all day without underwear. It smell amazing.
So Jennifer was just talking about that. So Jennifer Brown is saying, what about these veggie steam? If
Doesn't
that's good.
work. If you have to keep steaming, you're going to take out the uterus at some point in time,
Wow.
and
Because
it
I
must come out.
because I know a lot of people who does veggie steam, and it's like the big thing now. You know.
Because they want to say they don't have any STIs or STDs, and it's not an infection. They want to believe it's just this thing that come upon them, because
Hmm.
that's how we treat infections. We are so embarrassed about it that we won't. First of all, they won't. I have a clinic and they won't spend the 4,000 or the 3,500 or the depends on how far it is to fix their body. They will still walk out and go and do a veggie steam. But you know what? They don't keep their man. They really don't keep their man because nobody wants stinking pudding.
For those who are listening, listen. You need to fix yourself up because no one wants any smelly pony. This is the Marlin that I know.
And not only just that, the weight gain that come with infection and the
I was gonna
stomach and the
ask. I was gonna
enlargement of the whole body is affected by it. The excess amount of blood loss and then taking iron and then later on getting Parkinson from excess amount of iron in the body. Especially if they
Mm,
come to the clinic and they have all of these Parkinson disease and quote unquote they have and they walk through the clinic. Did you ever take iron? Yes. Uh, did they take out your womb? Yes. Parkinson later. It's the joint
it's
pain.
just one thing lead to the
It's to
next,
another.
and then what I heard you saying is that a lot of times these diseases is stored in your uterus or your hip. Is what you're
Well,
saying.
it's going to store there because that's the place that life begins. It's like a very rich, rich, rich oasis in the body.
Mm-hmm.
And why is it going to move? Every month you change off your endometrial lining and it
Mm-hmm.
comes out nicely and then a new one reach for blood and then the body
Mm-hmm.
realize it's not it. They get these, then you get all these fibers that's dropping out and clots dropping out. It's actually at that point in time you don't lose your womb. You don't take it out. The doctor take it out because they see a quote unquote
A mass.
no, they see um whatever cells they call. They won't tell the clients that it's pre-cancer. It's cancer cell that says pre-cancer, so I have to take it out. But most times that those cancer really come just after menopause, after fibers, after you stop having your period. Then it doesn't come out as much. So those cells are altered because it's your own cells that are altered. The mitochondria is altered, and then you get cancer forming.
Wow.
So I dare anybody that tell me that they just have a little bit of fibers or a little bit of bleeding or it's all bullshit.
Well, every time I speak to you, you're always just friggin' blowing my mind, Marlon. And I mean, you and I always have this conversation in terms of people are quicker to take to look after and go on vacations versus looking after this bottle that's going to last them forever. And
Exactly.
because they are so brainwashed in society, doctors, that they're always second guessing everything else. If the doctor says, let's take a uterus out, it's a quick, let's do it. It's
But you know that whole sit down, that's the longest they ever spoken to a doctor, 15 minutes. Because doctors don't really talk to them. That's the thing. Doctors don't really talk to them. Um, So they're really happy to get that 15 minutes of time that because they really feel that this person has come in for just 15 minutes in their life
mm-hmm,
and they respect them and they have a relationship and they're having a good conversation.
everything
And that's a
reference.
$400,000 operation between the doctor and the hospital and
Mm-hmm.
the anesthesiologist. The only person that don't get a cut out of it is the nurse. And they just haul out the black woman bodies and just throw it away. Just throw it away. And then you get collapse of your uterine bladder. Your bladder just collapsed through it. So, nobody no want to say you just have to give yourself to Jesus. And then you get the collapsing of your bowels down there, dropping down. And it's just an unhappy life. It's just really, really unhappy.
And it's always a cycle. It just keep continuous. It just keep
And then they
continuing.
get joint pain and they get all kind of pretty name to it and they give a lot of name to all of the infections in the joints. It's the inflammation in the sheaths of the synovium, in the tendons, and they want to fix that, and they still have an infection going through their body. It doesn't matter.
So Kara wants to know, how do you treat fibroids?
In my clinic, I have a couple of treatments that I call pelvic inflammatory disease, and I have S bacteria, I mean STD bacteria. And I treat it, and I also treat parasitic bacteria through another parasite treatment I have. So normally when they come in, because I'm not testing for which one they have, I give them all three. And that normally in the first month clears up that pain. And I also treat them with an endocrine support. I treat them with a good liver support because the liver is so damaged by then. And and I do something a little bit about the every period and fibers for the next month, 2 months, and then
Mhm.
that's cleared up. Then they have normal period, normal 4 or 5 days period, 1 or 2 pad a day, no odor.
Wow.
And it really takes about It takes about 2 months, but I do an extra month just to make
to
sure
make
because
sure.
sometimes they're so damaged and then don't have enough. The liver is not storing iron anymore because the liver itself can't do all the jobs that it needs to do. So then I just fix them up a little bit so that the liver can go back to storing iron and releasing iron and all of those stuff.
You and I were speaking earlier on too, when you told me about we're going to go down to talk about oral sex. That if someone has, let's say, a man have gingivitis, that's also can be transmitted to a woman's vagina, and that's another cause for infection.
Yeah, it's another cause for infection, but it's not as bad as the bacterial STIs,
Hmm.
but
So, do we have to take something to clear that up, or it would just run its
but
course?
most of the time when the man have gingivitis, he's really low on vitamin C. So I'd advise them to take a lot more liposomal vitamin C, and it's just really he also have sometimes bacterial infection in the stomach,
Hmm.
in the lower stomach, like he has an imbalance in his gut bacteria.
Hmm.
So if he clears that up, that gingivitis tends to go away.
Okay, so since we're kind of talking about
It's
men,
not, and gingivitis is not about cleaning teeth. It's really, truly,
it's a gum.
and it's not just the gum. It's in the blood. So you clear that up and it goes
Hmm.
away.
Jennifer, I see what is the cost to be treated by your clinic. So on the bottom of the screen is all of Marlin's information. So I would suggest you just take the information from the bottom and give her a call. She does consultation. Marlene, what's the cost of your consultation? 'Cause I'm not sure about that. Or is
$80.
there one? So she will it will cost you $80 for a consultation. Okay, and then you can pick her brain from there. Carol says gingivitis, pum pum, Marlene.
I know. I think about that all the time. I'm so like, oh my God, I have to clean everybody up just to have sex.
I can't stand her. So no, since we're speaking in regards to the guys, right? In terms of men, and you're saying all of this because there could be lacking of vitamin C, whatever, in terms of when people get gingivitis. And remember, vitamin C can also lack in women, and women have gingivitis too. The reason why I mention that is because we're talking about oral sex on women and passing the disease. Um, for men, for erectile dysfunction, because remember back in the days, or people always saying when men reach over a certain time, that's when them start having erectile dysfunction. But now that I've been speaking to you, that's all fib. So for the men that's for the men who's on here, who's on live stream, who's listening, or who will be watching this on the replay, what causes men to have erectile dysfunction?
Diabetes, one of the things.
Mm-hmm.
And um, infection. The prostate is a couple things that goes wrong in the prostate. Um, it depends on the environment that they're working in with a lot of environmental toxins, especially cadmium and aluminum. The prostate is a fatty gland. And I mean, the body chooses which one to go to, whether the fatty brain or the fatty gland. And those tend to build up inside of the prostate and it inflames it. And when it inflames it, that's why they said they have enlarged. And they don't really talk about, because inflammation is only caused by a damage to those organs.
Mm-hmm.
If you repair the organ and remove the hindrance or the cause of it, then the inflammation goes away and you don't really have enlarged prostate. But
Mm-hmm.
the other thing that gives you enlarged prostate is really STDs. Again, we go back to STDs.
So everything just goes right back to STDs, eh?
Yeah, because I mean, that's where you put in the body. So, but the thing with the STDs is that you have this one called tricks, and you're really truly it's asymptomatic in men, so they wouldn't really know that they have that. So
So yeah.
I can't blame the brother much for that. 90% of the time, 99% of the time, there is no symptom whatsoever. Those little buggers are parasitic and they swim upstream and get into the urethra, get into the kidneys, and and all of that.
So they have to deliberately go to the doctor and say, "Listen, test me for trick."
Well, they test them for trick when it get to the point of
We're too late, probably.
yeah, they keep getting what they call it, uteritis and uteral infection, and they will might test them that time, but they're not even going back to the man and say, talk to your partner. They're not doing that.
Because a lot of times it's keep bouncing back and forth because one person's
Yes,
cleaning themselves and the other isn't. So it's just going back and forth.
because he has no symptom, it's always her. That's what he thinks.
And so this, okay, so if he has trick, and a lot of times when this is, would this be a way for women get vaginitis? Because I know a lot of women get
It is.
vaginitis.
It is. You always. It's an STD, but it's just parasitic. So
Mm,
that's why in my clinic, I find that when I treat um, people coming to me, I say to a woman, I said, I am treating you. I am not treating you unless you bring your partner. And if I'm treating you, you cannot have sex with your partner again without condom. Are you up for that? And I see the man normally trickling after because they're forced to have that conversation with their partner because I said, let me tell you something, what's going to happen. Sooner or later, they're going to pull out your uterus and your cervix. You have no
mm-hmm,
use to anybody because that is the muscular lining that keeps everything intact. It's
mm-hmm.
going to be gone. Is he worth it? Is he worth it not to have this conversation? But
Wow.
by the time they come to me, they're already overweight and all the other things because they have been so sick so long that they're not feeling well. So is it worth it? Is the partner worth it? And I think sometimes they go home and they think about it, then they call me back in a few days and then they'll come and then you'll see their partner come and I won't treat I will treat them, but I want them to sign because they're going to feel good and they're going to be repaired. But they keep going back to that same partner
Mm-hmm,
without him being treated. No, but sometimes what they do, they bring the partner to me to talk about the partner's health. And the funny thing is that between men and women, honest to God, Donna,
mm-hmm.
immediately men say, where do I pay? Immediately,
The
men
men.
hear
Yeah.
what is coming down the road, or I might say they Google it. They come back. Where do I pay? They want to start their treatment immediately. Woman will give around because
Woman, aha, and I go on like
or
say.
they will go douche and
Mm-hmm,
they will find a new thing on the internet and a little bit of, they will do whatever some they use red clover. They call so anything you want to do. Anything you can. I have a whole line of over 4,000 herbs. One line and buy them.
I know. I've seen you done that.
Go
So
buy them. I don't care what you want to. Because
Carol is
I
making a comment, and
in my
Carol
head
is
I say
saying,
I'm not the one that have it. It's
"But,
you.
listen, Marlene, remember, you're running to a clinic all the time because I'm here. I've heard you." Carol is saying Marlene is really good at what she does. I was diabetic for 25 years, and now I'm off my pills since I start going to Marlene, and yay for that.
I know.
And
Stop going coming to me. I don't need to see her anymore.
I know, but she begged. She said, "So Marlene, so where am I going? What am I supposed to do?" So and that and this is the thing. So for those who are joining me, I have Marlin from Marlin Her talking about women's health and many reasons why we keep getting reoccurring vaginitis and problem with fibroids and heavy bleeding is because of STI. If it's gone, not looked after, it's going to always come back. So her suggestion is if you're going to clean yourself of all STI and you have a partner, have a sexual partner, make sure that partner gets cleaned as well, because what's going to happen is it's going to keep going back and forth. Right, Marlene?
Yes.
Okay.
And a 7 day antibiotic never ever clears it.
And it's true though. I so
Never ever clears it because you can't tell me that it's a one size fits all for everybody type. Every everybody type, every different type of diet and digestion and what's happening in the person body at that time, that a 7 day treatment of antibiotic is going to clear it up. And if you get it longer than 7 days, you're going to have some gut biome issue also.
I was going to
Because
talk about
when you
that.
get antibiotics to kill all bacteria, it's good and
Mhm.
bad. And if
So
you don't have the good bacteria, not just in your gut, under your lashes, on your skin, you're really in for some trouble.
oh really? So all them things that can give you stuff all over your skin too is what you're saying?
Jockish. You know, it's all jockish.
Jackie, Mitch. Marlene, I wanted to talk to you too about gut health. Um, what is it called again? And,
Oh, lots of
and
things. Crohn's, diverticulosis,
all of them
irritable bowel syndrome. There are all kind of nice names for it. Depends on how the person wants
to do it.
to talk about it. But it's
Okay.
all about disturbed gut biome. It's all about imbalanced parasites levels. imbalance bacteria levels because we need both in our gut.
So we have good bacteria and we have bad bacteria. So most
No,
of the
we
time,
don't have bad bacteria.
okay.
We have all bacteria pretty much can be good to us if they're held in check or in balance.
Mm,
So like people talk about, oh, I have a strep throat. You always have strep. Strep needs to be there. Strep cannot leave the lining. It's protective. It's when you irritate something and then it goes
it get
out of
infected.
control.
Ah. Before I go on to my next question, Dave Archie Lawrence is asking, how do you know if you have a problem with your prostate?
You start having problem emptying properly, or you sometimes you have much less discharge. Your sperm levels are very low when you discharge. You discharge, and it's just not that amount.
And thick and juicy. Oh,
And
okay,
yeah,
sorry.
and nice. And so you will have you. That's how you realize that there's something there. So it's just how you empty in all, whether sperm or pee.
And so if a person, a man that pees often, is that also could be an issue, or is it because they're just drinking a lot of fluid?
Well, if he's drinking a lot of fluid and he's drinking too much fluid and he's peeing too much time, he's getting rid of most of his minerals and and stuff like that. That's
Mm,
going to lead, give him some balance issue and all of those stuff. And
mhm.
if he's also peeing in excess, it could be that he's diabetic.
That is true. That is true. Um, Menopause.
Oh, wonderful thing.
How so? Why is it wonderful?
Women get clarity, clear brain, they look fabulous, they become fearless.
Okay, so for the woman that's suffering the opposite of that, night sweats,
Oh,
weight
that's
gain.
not menopause. She already had endocrine problem long before that came along.
So what you're saying is when a woman is going through menopause,
You're
clarity.
not going through.
Okay,
I come from a country where nobody went through menopause because they had wonderful diet.
so what you're saying is all this symptoms that women are going through and blame it
It's
on
bad
menopause is
health,
because
bad
it's
health, bad health, bad diet, high fructose corn syrup, flour, um,
pasta and they
seafood,
kind of them
pasta, plant-based, all those stuff that they're going. High estrogen food and all the plant-based crap that they're eating.
hot flashes,
That
Carol
is
is
what's
saying.
causing all of
So
that imbalance.
really? So it's because we're not eating properly?
It's
Mo-
only that. It's only that. And I mean, they come into my clinic and I do give them an endocrine support that supports the
I, I did
pituitary
I,
gland, the thyroids, the adrenals,
I
the
did take that
wonderful thing called the
endocrine, of
ovaries, the
course.
pancreas, and that's the only one. That's the only thing in the clinic that tastes good.
I remember when you gave that to me and it makes my punny area feel really nice and
Oh my! I
it
remember you
was just
coming
on
back.
fire. Remember?
I
And
was
I keep
coming
saying,
back, and
so
I,
you know, my girl,
once a
I'll give me no
year,
more.
once a year, you don't need it.
It's like, Marley, I need some of that endocrine. What's going on? Give me some more now. Wow. So so bad bad diet is what caused the sweats. So for those women on here that's listening and is going through everything that you said, so all it is what they're saying, so I know you're good on fats, like good fat, so just change their diet.
Yeah, it's changing diet. I mean, if it gets to the point where it's really uncomfortable and stuff, then maybe you just need some help. You need a little help with some herbs. I do a wonderful herb extract with about 32 herbs, and you come in and you reset your body, and you really go on some sort of food that is anti North American food because my food plan is completely opposite
So
of
tell
what.
them what
Yeah.
anti North American food is. Let's give them an idea what that looks like.
Well, lots of fat, good healthy proteins, no farm raised fish, no salted fish, no salted mackerel, no tin fish, no tin mackerel, fresh codfish, fresh sardines, um, Really wonderful red meat. Oh my God, some nice oxtail and curry goat. And lots of coconut oil and MCT oil, some avocado, can
So
have
good
some
fats.
walnuts, can have some butter. Oh my God, really good grass-fed butter. Oh,
Mm-hmm. That's what we're living on, Carol. Right, Carol?
yeah. And then the wonderful thing is the different yams and the sheen and eddos and cassava, plantain. And remember, there's no wheat. There's
Mm-hmm.
no flour, no fried dumpling, no nothing. You can have all of that with other flour like cassava flour, arrowroot flour, nuts, um, just many more different things. You can have you can have other flours. You can make your own
But
flour,
not the regular
coconut
flour that where you were
flour.
grew up on.
No, coconut flour,
Wow.
all those stuff.
Um, Dave is saying he's American. How can you help me with that? What is he supposed to eat?
Well, he has to just see when he eats certain food, and if he's tired, then he doesn't eat that food again.
Pay
You
attention.
because what is going to make you tired is these massively monocrop food, food that are just wheat and corn and food that nothing else eat. I mean, like you have 1,000 acres of corn growing, and
Hmm.
no birds eat it, no insects eat it, no animal eats it, only we. So there has to be something that nerve-ending destructive to that plant. Why everything else know they should avoid it except us, and they package this cheap food and they just feed it to us. So really, what you should be eating? Eat some sweet potatoes. Eat a
Hmm.
little bit of rice with some coconut milk. Eat some dasheen and yam. Explore other people's food, other underground food. Explore planting if you're in America.
Nora is saying hot flashes, crying spell, weight gain, tiredness. It's not her imagination. She's not saying it's imagination. What she's saying is probably you need to start changing. But you can answer that, Marlon.
Now, it's not your imagination. It's just that you have an endocrinal imbalance. You fix your endocrine system and all of that goes away. That's all it is. If you're in balance, you're going to feel all of it.
Mm-hmm. Because remember too, Nora, and correct me if I'm wrong, and Marlon, this is causing from a buildup of years to come is what you've been eating for years,
Every
right?
time.
Every time. So it's the buildup. It's not as if you're eating properly now. It's what's been happening for a long time. So it's as if you're this packaging stuff on top of eat layers on top of layers on top of layers. But when you clean that out, it's like it's starting a fresh slate, right?
And you're eating a lot of phytoestrogen, a
Mm-hmm.
lot, a lot of fat. So if you lower your estrogen, which is most of it is plant based and packaged with a lot of sugar, and because you can't sell people plants without sugar, 'cause it doesn't taste good. Because we're not going to eat it. So either they remove the fat, well they don't add the fat, or if they do add the fat, they add manufactured fats like corn oil and all these oil and soybean oils and all that. And then
Mm-hmm.
they lace it with these sugars that like maltodextrin that doesn't really taste sweet initially, but it is a sugar. And that really throws off the endocrine system completely. Because if you think it doesn't throw off the endocrine system, check your blood sugar. That's a part of your endocrine system. That nice little gland is a very central part to your endocrine system. So if
Mm-hmm.
that is off, if you have sugar imbalance, you have adrenal imbalance. You have adrenal imbalance, you're going to have some problem with your liver. And if you have some problem with your liver, you're going to get have complications from thyroid issues. They're not going to have good moods because the pineal gland, well, all of those secretions are off too.
Everything is off, and that's giving you all that
Everything's off.
imbalance.
And I mean, you won't even have sex drive because chances are not eating enough fat,
I was going to
which
ask
is
about that too.
essential. And again, the ovaries are off because now you need a little bit more progesterone, less estrogen.
Mm. Carol wants to mention the nut dumpling. So for those who don't understand what the nut dumpling is, we have taken out the Jamaican flour dumpling. So what we do is buy a whole compilation of different nuts and grind it together, and take what's the flour called again?
Arrowroot
The arrowroot
or
flour to
cassava
bind it
flour.
and make it. Listen,
That's
we
the
don't want no more
binder.
to binder. It's like we are hooked on these nut dumplings. So we have been living a healthier lifestyle since we have been talking to Marlene about the different of how our bodies is. Because Marlene, you're right. When we eat certain food, you get foggy brain, you get confused, you do see the weight gain, the sweats, the confusion, and if as women and men pay attention after you eat certain food, you do feel it. It's not your imagination, it's actually happening to you. So the next question to self is, what should I do to fix this?
And
Right,
I,
Marlene?
yeah, and I want people to go research gluteomorphine. That's what happened when you eat wheat. It makes some morphine in the gut. And you feel good. You reach for that bread, but you're down every 2 hours. And you
Mm-hmm.
constantly need to eat because you're eating something that does not allow you to get energy because insulin is a really, really at play there. And insulin stores all energy for future, just in case you're going to starve and all of those stuff. That's what it does. And so how do you get energy when insulin is busy packing it away in your liver
Mm-hmm.
actually?
Mm-hmm.
So then
Um,
you don't drink alcohol and then you have cirrhosis of the liver. Might as well you drink alcohol, they'll get a better time doing it. Because I mean, you're going to get that from the wheat and there's no fun getting it that way.
oh, so might as well.
Why don't you just you to get it through drinking?
I like that. I like that synopsis. Carol, listen, what help with high blood pressure?
It's such a complicated thing. High blood pressure is not high blood pressure, it's just a symptom of kidney disease, which diabetes causes that. Um, Bad food, um, overcalcification of the body, um, because it calcified because it's damaged and the body is trying to patch it. It's um it's never high blood pressure. It's always underlying all of the other underlying stuff that happen, and endocrine system problem and digestion problem, and it's just the damages to the kidney that comes with that.
Okay, so it's everything that you have lead up to people having. So
So I don't. When people come into the clinic and they say they have they have
high blood pressure.
say high blood pressure. I don't have anything in there for high blood pressure because I don't care. That's just a symptom. And I can give them a couple herbs that will drop it and they'll feel happy and they keep reading it again. You really want somebody to repair the kidneys, fix the kidney, fix the cardiovascular system.
So you
And
fix
then
that,
it goes
and
away.
the symptoms
Yeah,
goes away.
get your veins cleaned out with a good diet, and just getting a little hump and help from breaking up some of the stones and calcification that are in those vascular system. And once you do that, you're pretty it's done. You don't have high blood pressure.
Wow.
So it's not. Oh, I drink. People tell me I drink cinnamon and my blood pressure go down. And I say okay.
I've heard that.
Because who wants to be doing that all your life? You really want to feel like you're in your 20s and
All
you
the
didn't care about high blood pressure, you know.
So calcification can happen right through your body, from your
Yes,
pituitary glands to your hip to
everywhere, everywhere.
and
People
this can be and this is called
cataract is calcification. Cataract is calcification. Little bumps under the soft part of your eye and around your face and all over. You see these dark bumps that come up under the skin. Those are all calcification.
what about
And
styes?
ca- um, it's partly calcification and it's partly blockages in the vein, and they said it's like it's all these things. It's really calcification. You
Mm,
know, joint pain is calcification. You know, kidney stone,
joint pain as in arthritis or just
arthritis. Um, I wouldn't say rheumatoid sometimes can be stem from STD infections, but so I treat that a little different than how I treat kidney disease, which is mainly arthritis and stuff. But rheumatoid and synoptical problems, those are 90% of the time gonorrhea. and stuff that have gone up into that along that way.
I'm glad you mentioned that. Deidre, I'm going to come back to you 2 seconds. The recipe, I'll text you the recipe for the nut dumpling tomorrow, and then I'm going to ask her about your allergies and stuff. But before we get onto there, before we talk about that, Deidre, Marlin, we're talking about STI. So remember, you were telling me there's two different forms of STI. You have the bacterial STI, and then the other one. The bacterial one is I guess that's in your body. But let's say, for instance, herpes that comes out in bumps. Is
Mm-hmm.
it herpes that comes out in bumps, right?
Mm-hmm.
So can someone get rid of that? Or is it harder to get rid of than the bacterial
Viruses
STI?
are much harder it's much harder to rid your body of viruses, but I've treated people where there is almost a false positive response,
Mm-hmm.
but it's much harder to get rid of. And funny enough, those herbs doesn't taste that bad. I get rid of them, but
Mm-hmm.
it's about a 6 months treatment, and I don't like the long treatments. I think 3 months and you get the hell out of my clinic, and you should be fixed.
Mm-hmm.
So, but that's about a 6 month treatment. Um, um, you know, therapies.
Yeah.
It's really embarrassing. So I treat it internally because I do a lot more internal than external, but I do have a little external thing that I do also, and I'm very strict about getting good um, minerals in the body to help with that.
I know you. All right, perfect. So Deidre
And eating
wants
salt,
and what?
eating a lot of salt.
Listen, Miss Soon, tell people about your salt that I get from you all the time. But Deidre wants to know how to deal with allergens and sinus problems.
Okay, sinus problem tends to be fungal infection, period. So you do a fungal treatment, it's a couple of cases, couple boxes and you're done. But allergies and asthma and eczema and psoriasis,
It's
whatever
the
they want to
liver.
be name, it's all liver. And if the liver is bad, then you're going to have some gut problems. So then I normally treat secondary gut issues. But all of 99% of that is all the liver issues.
Man, because I know you're treating my grandson for eczema, and you're saying, and he's well, I'm just turned 3 now, and it's because of his liver. And
Yeah.
by the way, me forgot bring back some so you can sweeten it for him because I refuse now.
To drink it.
Refuse to take it anymore.
What we can do, we can blend up some plum in there and stuff.
Yes, please, because
Yeah.
Marlene, I'm done. He's over it. Carol wants to know the difference between rheumatoid arthritis versus regular arthritis.
Rheumatoid arthritis tend to be infectious disease. Regular arthritis tend to be problem with the kidneys and again calcification and
So,
all.
infectious disease, meaning STI, can cause rheumatitis. What you're saying?
Yeah, and then other disease too. Other bacterial infections that gets into the body and parasitic, but mainly bacterial.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then the
But
and the
if you look on some of them, like, it's really the famous one again, like people that have lupus will have those things, but that's all bacterial infection, and the body just tries to go at it, and they said, well, it's overreacting, but it's just going with like just shooting in the dark at everything because everything is being affected by this overload of infectious bacteria.
I'm glad you bring up lupus, and it's just too bad that the young lady that you looked after for her lupus, and she haven't had a flare up in like 7 or 8 years. She would be such an amazing testimonial for this. You know what I mean? Because I think I spoke to her before I even met you, and she told me about the story of how she went to Jamaica to die because of what her body.
Oh,
Yeah, without even calling them, you know exactly what I'm talking about. That she
yeah.
went to Jamaica to die, and one person said, "You know what? Try one more time." And she came back to Canada, met you, and she hasn't have a flare up in over 7 years after she was done with you.
Well, that was a couple months, but she would ever have a flare up.
But
You
this is
deal
what
with
I'm
the underlying
saying.
issues. There's
But this
no flare up. You deal with the underlying issue, take the load off the immune system, and then you don't have an infection anymore. And you don't have an infection, you don't have lupus.
this but
There's
this
no flare up. Like that's the thing. Like they keep telling people that You're going to be sick all the time, but you change cells all the time.
That's true.
Like, why would you be sick all the time?
Because you do change cells all the time.
Every day. Yeah,
Yes.
even your skeleton is every 7 years is a new one. So I don't understand why you should be sick for 15 years, 20 years. Why you should have a so-called sick. Oh, my diabetes, my high blood pressure,
Them a
my
own it. Them because them a
the
own
person,
them.
because it drives every decision they make. They can't travel, they can't move around, they're afraid to have sex, they can't catch a cold, then this, they can't leave their pills, they can't eat this. It's just so restrictive. And then, of
It's
course,
that mind
once you
control.
have like diabetes, you're going to have joint pain. So nobody even want to have sex with you because it's just all kind of crying.
Okay, you know what? Let's talk about dry vagina.
Oh God, there's no such thing as dry vagina with healthy with an
We
healthy
know that.
endocrine system. You have a pill for that.
I know I have the pill for it, and but for those that's listening and who don't even know that I have pills for this, they would say, you know what, I guess it's their vagina is dry because their body's just going through some stuff.
No,
You know, so what? Them need just need good fat.
they need lots of healthy fats. They need to get that endocrine system balanced because you're dealing with your ovaries again, and you're pretty good.
Man. Before we go to Archie, there's something that I wanted to ask you. IUD, birth control, because we were having a conversation about that. What's your thought on IUD as a contraceptive?
Oh, I've never used contraceptives, so I don't have any thoughts on it. I just know that if you're going to put
Metal,
something
right?
in the body that is going to drive estrogen, you're setting yourself up for breast cancer because it's tightly linked to estrogen dominance. You're setting yourself up for diabetes. There's a long list. They can check up the side effect. They just don't want to read it, but they get a whole package with what is going to happen to them and always happen to them.
Wow.
Always happen to them. You always end up being diabetic. You always end up having problem with your menstruation, having problem with weight gain, having problem with body odor, with this thing being hooked up in the body.
And do you notice too? I don't want to call it masculine energy because there's nothing wrong with asking about masculine energy. But now I notice that women tend to be having a lot of more testosterone. You know,
No,
more facial
no,
hair. Would that be even causes
that's not from testosterone. That's from estrogen.
for the as the over population of
Yes,
estrogen?
all that beard and that line back thing that start happening.
Hmm.
It's an imbalance in it's estrogen,
So how does
not
one
progesterone.
progesterone? So how does one balance all of that out?
Stop eating soy-based food, and everything is soy-based that's packaged.
Mm,
Stop overly estrogenizing yourself.
wow.
Eat some good healthy fats and stop running away from healthy fats. Stop eating cheap fat.
But
And
so
I see the young man asking about energy.
yeah, that's what
Fat.
he's asking.
Tell him to have some fat, more
Dave,
healthy fat, some
Dave,
butter, some coconut, some nut fats.
okay, did you hear? And so Dave, that's what she's referring to you. Get good butter, grass-fed butter, good nut fats. Get some avocado oil, MTC oil. I'll let
Oh, that is really good.
I'll let Carol send you some stuff to get because our house is never without, especially MTC oil and grass-fed butter. Never without it. We even changed the way we buy our meats as well. You know, so it just it makes a big difference in how you eat and what you put in your body. Because remember, even I can't tell when last I have the itis. Because remember them time when you eat, all you want to do is sleep. But now that when you eat, it's like, okay, what next? There's no itis. That's non-existent.
Nothing, nothing.
It's non-existent.
You can think, you can be creative.
Listen, you
You deal with
creative
challenges
juices.
and you deal
Exactly.
with all kind of stressors, and you're just fine. Like
Exactly. So for all
because
those
stress is not bad.
no, so all these people that's on your or entrepreneurs and who are always continuously going, you need to start changing your diet. And who is more important? It's you. We need to start looking after you. For people that's in a relationship right now, married or just having a sexual partner, clean up yourself. And when you clean up yourself, make sure he's cleaned up too. Because we do not want to be playing table tennis back and forth with this
I know.
bacteria going back and forth, back and forth. we're at our age, we're in a year, an age of knowledge and everything is around us. It's not in the stone age where, yeah, pick up, remember the encyclopedia book? I remember them big old books, Marley,
I
the one I used to go to
know.
school with.
I had them. I had them for my
I
dog. They must know how
I saw
old.
them and I saw them in your
I had all of those for them.
oh my god.
They're not gonna take them when they're not moving out with them. They leave them for me.
This is the time for information. We
The
have to go.
thing is, people don't want to spend on their health.
Yes,
They
I agree.
refuse to spend on their health. And I had a client that came to see me last year. She wants to get pregnant. And I told her the protocol and the cost and what needs to be done. And they went to the doctor because they admit that they had an infection. She came back in my clinic again a couple of weeks ago and told me that, oh, she wants to start the treatment with $600. I said, no, no. Go back to your doctor again because it's still there. It's not going to cost you anything because $600 ain't going to fix that.
Because it's
But
gotten worse too, probably.
it doesn't get worse. It's the same treatment. But the bottom line is that she can continue on that game because they're going to haul out her womb and at some point in time and fling it in that garbage.
And that's one of the thing I love about you. You don't beat around the bush.
You know, if you think $600 is money or $3,000 over the treatment plan time to fix yourself, and I mean, it sounds expensive, but look on what's going to happen to you in the long run.
Exactly.
And then
Exactly.
you can put a price on that because you're going to buy a lot of clothes, a lot of layering, a lot of fixing, a lot of pomading, a lot of doing this, a lot of fixing. Everything going to be happening. It's going to be very expensive. And
Mm-hmm.
then you visiting the health food store to get one $49 thing today, another third because you read up on the internet. Do all of that.
Mm-hmm.
And still, it won't work out. You're going to get some cesarean birth because you're going to have some infection and so on and so forth, and have some difficulty with those children as they go through puberty because you're dirty.
Francine, she's saying my mind is going a mile a minute. As I always say, there's so much work to be done, and this is overdue foundation. Yeah, yes, Francine. Listen, she is my gem. Dr. Sabi have nothing upon Marlene. And it's people like me and yourself, Francine, because I know you're huge in the community that we need her to be talking to our community because I have learned so much from this Empress right here in terms of health, not only health, but the way we speak and mind thoughts and just, I'm so in love with her. It's ridiculous.
Oh,
Um, Owen is asking, what is the best herbal tea to have in the morning?
busy. Cola nut.
Owen, did you hear that? Busy and cola nut?
It's the same thing. So I just give them
Oh,
both names.
okay, busy. So does busy come in them tea bags or what
Busy.
is it? Hold on,
I
is it
call it
busy that
busy.
we used to take when we have poison in Jamaica?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Really?
Yeah, cola nut.
All right. Oh, and so cola nut or busy tea in the morning to give it so it helps with that energy.
It not just have energy, it's just a wonderful nut. It's anti-alchemic, it's antibiotic, it's actually gut friendly at the same time. It's have a lot of caffeine, it gives you energy, it's good for the brain. It's just a really good um
A good tea.
yeah, it's just a really good tea. 1 minute there. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, just a really good tea. And I just can't get enough of a cola nut. And it's so simple and it's such a very, very good nut because it used to be traded in West Africa where we're from, and it trades. It's actually a currency. That's how good it was. That's how good it is.
I think we have some, but I always assume busy was to take, when them think you have poison, you drink it and it get rid of the poison, or so that's what I thought busy tea was, not realizing that it had different components to it.
Well, it's anti-asthmatic. It's a cardiotonic. It's a nervine. It's aphrodisiac. It's
It's an
digestive.
aphrodisiac.
It's stimulant.
It's an
It's an
aphrodisiac.
astringent. It's a diuretic. It's a tonic. It's a relaxant. Even although it gets you going, it's also relaxing you.
All I heard is aphrodisiac. Okay, so I'm gonna have a glass of that
And it's an
for
antidepressant,
tonight.
and it's good for like fatigue and asthma and
Really?
ADH. It,
All right. Okay. So,
alcoholism, depression, it's really, really good. Food poisoning, neuralgia, urinary tract infection,
wow. All of that, eh?
yeah, hangover,
Wow. No, we know. So
because
busy
it
tea
really,
is
really protects the liver.
so busy is one of the best tea to have in the morning. So Owen, I noticed that you said it's noted. So going forward, the best thing to get your day started is busy. So I'm gonna try and
And
not.
I even sell it online, all grounded and everything. But
Okay. So for those.
when you talk about herbs, you have to find out the nutrients in a herb and the action of a herb. And that's why people get up and they get, oh, my grandmother was an herbalist. And I say, okay, poison yourself. But like, and we talk about cola nut. We're talking about caffeine. We're talking about catechin, which is in green tea too, but it's in a high level than green tea. And
Mhm.
in West Africa, we never have green tea bush growing. We have cola nut, and it works for us. It,
Mm.
it has good tannins, so it tightens the body, and it has tannic acid, and it has phenolics, and you have theobromines, so it really helps with the gut. So it actually beats ginger at even balancing nausea.
Oh,
But
really?
we run up and down and leave this good thing, this good thing that our ancestors knew was more valuable than cash.
All right, Marlene, we're coming to an end. Oh my God, you know what, Marlene, and I'm gonna ask in front of everybody. I want you to be my special guest like once a month. And I know you're gonna be fine with it, right? Because even if we come on here for 15, 20 minutes, because knowledge is power. And if we're gonna have this body that's we need to take us until our creator is ready for it, we have to look after it. So
Yeah.
Marlene, I want to thank you for coming here tonight. And for those that's on here, Marlene's information is at the bottom. This is going to be on my Facebook and on YouTube. So please reach out to her and have a conversation. Visit her website at marlinherbs.com. As she said, she sells all the herbs possible. And it's funny, you have herbs and then you have herbs. And she, in speaking to her, I realized that there is a difference in the way you dry the herbs.
Oh, yes.
It's different. It's like so different. So again, it was, as I said, knowledge is power, and we have
It's
to
like
look
when
after
they
this.
bring up herbs and say, oh, I bring up some herb from Jamaica.
It's
And I said, I can't
yeah.
do that. I thought that's just paper. There's
Yeah,
nothing left in
because
there.
even the other day when you made me smell that bush, and actually you said the scent is gone because it wasn't dried properly.
Yeah.
You
So
know,
everything is gone from it.
yeah. So the nutrients is gone from it. So
Mhm.
this is where knowledge is power. And Francine, she would be amazing to be talking to your group of people as well. I think you should actually, when I'm done, I'm gonna reach out to you and so that you guys can connect because your foundation is amazing, and I think this will be you guys would have great synergy together. And I'm gonna thank everyone who came on tonight to join us. Marlene,
Yes.
my phenomenal friend.
Oh, thank
Thank
you for
you for
inviting me, my
thank you
baby.
for always having my back. I appreciate you. And my name is Donna Savage. Also, don't forget to go and visit my website at savagedesires.ca. We're just started because we have so much to share, so much to talk about, so much to give.
I know.
Not of ourselves, but just we are that people. We're the new age of
I
understanding
know.
and love. You
I'm just
know,
loving ourselves.
and this is where we are. We have to start loving
And we
ourselves.
have the capacity to outlive everybody on this planet.
There you go.
And we should do it without visiting them up too much because they test all their drugs on us.
That trust
We
me,
can
we're
go
all your
home and
registered
take this
testers.
because it's free and we just, doctor does, I take another one.
Take
Take
it, let's
another
keep it.
one.
Listen, I could sit here and chat to Marlene all day, and she knows this. So make a cut her off.
Later, baby, later.
So everyone, thank you so much. Please connect with Marlene. Pay attention to her details at the bottom, or reach out to me because you know what? I love to connect, and it's about healthy mind, body, and spirit. Join us next week, Tuesday at 8 o'clock. Every Tuesday at 8 o'clock on YouTube and Facebook. Peace out.
Bye.
Bye. Let me try this.
Let me try this too.